Hello and welcome to the English lessons. Today we will cover lesson number 8 and the lesson's name is Silk Road. It is written by Nick Middleton. Coming to the introduction of the lesson, so this chapter is a part of a travelogue about the author's travel along the ancient trade route called Silk Road, regions as they are now. This account of the Silk Road, with its contrast and exotic detail, describes the challenges and hardships the author faced while journeying to Mount Kailash on a pilgrimage. Now, coming to the characters of the lesson, the first central character is the author. The author is a professor of geography at Oxford University and an environmental consultant. The next character is Satin. He is the owner of the car hired by the author for the journey as well as being a tourist guide. The next character in the lesson is Daniel. So he is an interpreter from Lhasa who travel part of the time with the author. And the next character is Norbu. He is a Tibetan working at an academy in Beijing who wants to carry out the pilgrimage to Mount Kailash. Now coming to the detailed summary of the lesson, Silk Road. So the author left Ravu along with Daniel, an interpreter, and Satin, who was a tourist guide. Before leaving Lamo, the lady who had provided them accommodation at Ravu gave the author a gift of long-sleeved sheepskin coat as they were going to Mount Kailash, where it would be very cold. So T. Satin knew a shortcut to reach the mountain. He said that the journey would be smooth if there was no snow. As they passed through the hills, they saw the individual drogbas. Drogbas are nomad shepherds looking for their flocks. Both men and women were seen there. They were wearing thick woolen clothes. They would stop and stare at their car, sometimes waving to them as they passed. As they passed the nomads' tents, they saw some Tibetan mastiffs, which were the dogs used by the shepherds. When the car came close to their tents, they would bark furiously and fearlessly. So the dogs, they would bark furiously and fearlessly. They would chase the car for some distance and would then go back. In earlier days, Tibetan mastiffs became popular in China's imperial courts as hunting dogs. They were brought along the Silk Road as a tax payment from the Tibets. The turns became sharper and more difficult as they climbed. The author started getting a severe headache. Suddenly, snow started falling and soon blocked the route. Daniel and the author got out of the car to reduce its load on the sharp bends. The altimeter, which is a device to measure the altitude. So the altimeter watch on the author's wrist indicated that they were at the height of 5,210 meters above the sea level. The icy top layer of the snow was dangerous as the car could slip off the road. When they reached a height of 5,515 meters, which was the top of the pass, the atmospheric pressure became so low that Satin had to open the lid of the petrol tank to realize the evaporated fuel. By late afternoon, they had reached the small town of Hor. So, by the late afternoon, they all had reached the small town of Hor on the shore of Lake Mansarovar, which was on the old trade route between Lhasa and Kashmir. Daniel returned to Lhasa from there. So Daniel, who was Daniel? Daniel is an interpreter from Lhasa who traveled part of the time with the author. So Daniel returned to Lhasa from there. So Sitan got the flat tire of the car repaired there. Hor was a grim, miserable place. There was no vegetation whatsoever, just dust and rocks. There was accumulated rubbish everywhere. Not like the past, the place no longer appeared holy. By 10:30 p.m. they reached Darchin. where they found a guest house to stay in. It was the end of the road. The author had a very troubled night. His nostrils were blocked and he was not able to get enough air into his lungs. Most of the night he sat up as he was unable to sleep. The next day, T. took the author to the Darchin Medical College. The author told him it was just the cold and the altitude which were giving him this trouble. The doctor gave him some medicine, and that night the author was able to sleep well. So Tsen left the author in Darchin and went back with the car to Lhasa. He did not mind if the author would die in Darchin. He was a good Buddhist and believed in life after death. However, he was worried that the author's death could affect his business, as he may not get more tourists who required to be accompanied till where the road ended. So, like Khor, Darchin was dusty and a lot of rubbish could be seen all around. The town appeared to be sparsely populated. There were no pilgrims there. There were no pilgrims there as the season had not yet started. He had reached there too early. He actually wanted to reach Mount Kailash to do Kora, to get a feel of what pilgrimage was like. So Kora is a pilgrimage. It means a pilgrimage in Tibetan language. So he reached there too early. So there were no pilgrims. He actually wanted to reach Mount Kailash to do Kora, to get a feel of what a pilgrimage was like. But he did not want to do it alone. So he was looking for someone who could speak or understand English. When he was sitting in the only cafe at Darchin, Norbu, a plump Tibetan working in Beijing at the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, saw him reading an English book. So Norbu introduces himself to the author. He also was there to do Kora. Kora means the pilgrimage. Although he was not a religious person, so both of them decided to do Kora together. So that was all about the lesson, the Silk Road. And also the author Nick Middleton in his travelogue follows the footsteps of Alexander the Great and Marco Polo overland from China to edge of Europe. Hence it is titled as Silk Road. The readers find it very refreshing to traverse such vast tracts of the natural world that remain largely untamed. So the Silk Road refers to a network of overland routes linking Europe with Asia. This had been the trade route followed by the Europeans since ancient times, who had a passion for silk, horses, and exotic fauna and flora of the East. It is a thread that links East and West, a network of veins that pumped new lifeblood into mighty empires, a fabled route trodden by innumerable adventures through the ages. So that's all about the lesson. Thank you.